Hello everybody, welcome back to Kate Rebel's Realm. I'm Kate Rebel and we are now doing the legendaries for the cultists. And I am very excited because there are some of my favorite heroes in this faction as well, for legendaries especially. So I am ready to get into it. The Nightmare Council had me baffled. I loved every single one of those stories. So it's going to take a lot to hold up to those expectations from that last video. So go check it out, please. Please and thank you. Go watch my other videos. But we are getting into the Cursed Cult right now. And we're starting off with one of my favorites. She is new, she is glorious, she is Anora. And let's just, let's give a little bit of lore on Anora. That being said, I love her. Anora, who fell from heaven for love, cherishes every sunset she views together with Ymrit. Ymrit created a doppelganger named Labor, forever guarding Anora. So when she goes out, she has a little spiritual Ymrit dragon guy that goes out for her. I love her. I think she's a great hero in the game, and I use her in almost everything because, she rocks. So I spent money to pull her. Skyward souls, twin souls entwined in frost and fire. Love is boundless, love is pure. Northern Bard. She's so cool, look how cool she is. I love the design. The frozen expanse of Taya's northern tundra, where the icy winds howl and the landscape is painted in eternal white. A being of ethereal beauty and unmatched power soars in harmony with her soulmate, Anora the Silver Seraphim. I just googled it because I didn't know what a seraphim is. What is that? That's horrible. That's some Pan's Labyrinth stuff right there. Born amidst the celestial realms, Anora was revered among her kind, a paragon of virtue and strength. Yet amid her homeland's splendor, she found herself drawn to the rugged, desolate beauty of Taya's frozen wastelands, a realm she watched from afar. It was in traveling there against the wishes of her kin that she first beheld Ymrit, an ancient ice dragon whose scales glisten like 1,000 shimmering moons and whose roar echoes across the icy plains. There was a primal allure in Ymrit's presence, a raw power that stirred something deep within Anora's soul. Despite the warnings of her celestial kin, Anora felt a profound connection to Ymrit, a bond that transcended the boundaries of their respective worlds. With each passing day, their souls intertwined, forging a bond stronger than any godly decree. Driven by her love for Ymrit and the desire to explore the mysteries of Taya's icy realms, Anora made a decision that would alter the course of her existence forever. She relinquished her seat among the seraphs, forsaking her stellar status to roam the tundra alongside her beloved. Their union, however, was not without its trials. As whispers of Anora's apostasy spread through the celestial realms, other seraphs descended upon Taya, intent on purging the land of her perceived heresy. But Anora and Ymrit were not ones to yield easily. Together they stood against the onslaught of godly wrath, their bond forged in the battle as they fought side by side against those who sought to tear them apart. In the cauldron of conflict, Anora and Ymrit emerged as the guardians of Taya's northern expanse, their love a beacon of strength in the face of adversity. With wings intertwined and hearts aflame, they soared across the icy skies, their presence a testament to the enduring power of love and sacrifice. And amidst the howling winds of the tundra, they have found solace in each other's embrace, bound together as the fierce wardens of the north. I like how she's like, no one can come between me and my man, and everybody's like, that's illegal. But I think the thing is, because she's a seraphim, right? So I think she was that weird little eyeball creature with the wings. So maybe she's kind of like an entity creature. You know what I mean? Like, she's not a human. We see her as a human. She depicts herself as a human, but she's actually a seraphim. I can't speak on Taya's legalities, but hey, maybe seraphim and dragons are allowed to be together. Dahlia. I really want Dahlia. Death's blossom. In the shadows of her wrath, a dark garden blooms. It will nurture it in gratitude. The burnt witch Morrigan. Nestled within a concealed grove on the fringes of what is now Nordshire Cemetery, flourished flora of mystical grandeur. These enchanted plants were revered by an ancient coven of witches, caretakers who delved into realms unseen by mortal eyes. However, when conflict with the Masoon Empire laid the grove to waste, only a singular charred flower endured amidst the ashes of the inferno. Yet the coven would have the last laugh, as this lone, jagged flower would undergo a second blooming, taking Tyre by storm in the form of Dahlia, Death's blossom. Those who worshipped the grove in all its splendor were known as the Witches of Nordshire, practitioners of the ancient arts who convened nightly amidst the enigmatic vegetation. In fact, the burnt witch, Morrigan, was named amongst their ranks. With hands clasped and eyes shut, they chanted ancient incantations, beseeching the grove to share its arcane secrets. For in the truth, the fauna were conduits of ethereal realms through which otherworldly forces were channeled. In the aftermath of a gruesome clash between the witches and the Masoon Empire over a misunderstanding involving a missing child, the aforementioned surviving black flower underwent a transformation more profound than any could have foreseen. As the blood of slain witches seeped into the soil, meshing with the ashes of the desecrated fauna, the mixture reached the lone flower's roots. From the pistil of the char-blackened flower emerged a figure, ethereal and imposing, a demigod embodying the grove's violated magic, born of vengeance and draped in flowing garments that mimicked the hues of black petals. It bore the semblance of a woman both beautiful and terrible, her features a fusion of sorrow and wrath. Petals adorned her raven black hair, and her eyes glowed the fury of every Nordshire witch to perish. She moved with sinister grace, each step echoing a silent promise of the retribution as new and dark enchanted flora bloomed in her wake. Though plague incited by Morrigan in her dying moments had ravished the crusaders sent to kill the witches of Nordshire, Dahlia desired revenge on the Masoon Empire as a whole, declaring war, and she believed Morrigan, her most loyal devotee, deserved a second chance at life. Amassing a following, both great and terrifying in number, Dahlia bestowed upon her most trusted acolytes a singular black flower clipped from her figure to be used in the reincarnation of the burnt witch. The ritual was a success. Now united in a conquest of vengeance, Morrigan and Dahlia have set their sights on the Masoon Empire, aiming to add its borders to those of Nordshire Cemetery. Creepy and fun. That was some spooky Halloween vibes. I liked that a lot. That was cool. Now I'm really excited to read Morrigan's story. Artemis. Artemis is really cool because he has a straight up gun. The sanguine surgeon. I'm not sure whether I'd rather be his patient or enemy. Field cook. Because you would know. Shrouded in shadows of his own design, his disposition is as coarse as the cobblestones upon which he was first abandoned. Yet from the gutter he writhed his way up through the festering dredges of society, carving a name for himself as a talented physician. Today he's known as Artemis, the sanguine surgeon. From the moment he entered his field, his pursuit of medical mastery was obsessive, almost sacred. Patients were mere vessels for his experiments, their suffering a trivial price for progress. Indeed, Artemis's cures were miraculous, but his method, morally grotesque. After Artemis began theorizing that necrotic tissue could be synthesized into a potent healing serum, whispers began to swirl when the earth of the local cemetery appeared disturbed, graves desecrated under the cloak of darkness. The locals were horrified until his theories proved true. With his treatment of a noble's incurable ailment, Artemis was promoted to court physician with unfettered access to fresh corpses. The prestige satiated his ambition until a new, insidious plague provided the perverse stimulation his dark heart craved. Necrotic tissue would not be the key to stemming the tide of corruption. For this, the surgeon would require blood from those above ground. From the depths of the dungeons, prisoners were hauled to the chamber, their pleas smothered by the thick walls. Then came the screams, results manifested in a single vial of petrified blood, one which inhibited corrupt cells from reproducing, to be replicated with simpler alchemic methods. By this time, Artemis had worn out his welcome with the locals, who'd grown terrified of the enigmatic physician, clamoring for his head on the guillotine. Fair enough, he thought, now yearning to test his new concoction in the fiery crucible of battle, donning a plague mask of old to render himself anonymous. He slipped away to an abandoned workshop where he could tinker in peace. The fruit of his labor took shape in the form of a revolutionary syringe rifle, which could cycle between his healing serum and petrified blood by the flick of a switch. With a grin concealed beneath his macabre mask, Artemis has taken to the front lines to test his new weapon, a harbinger of both salvation and doom. Should you ever find yourself sharing the trenches with the sanguine surgeon, take heed not to anger him, lest he pump you with the wrong dose. Oh my gosh, see, I am not articulate enough to know which switch I'm on. I don't think it's Star Trek, I think it's the Orville. They have their phaser on non-lethal, but they had it mixed up and it was actually on lethal because it's just one switch. Why would they do that? Okay, Magda, as we like to call her, Bluetooth. The wrathful avenger. Deep within Magda's heart resonates an unyielding thunder of vengeance, driving her to greater power even in the midst of her allies' downfall. The wrathful avenger. There is no true victory in revenge. An Akkadian proverb. It is a commonly held belief that the Fae feel most at peace in forests, but this isn't the case for Magda. The memories of the woods she came from are tinged with blood and regret. The source of her grief began with a harmless legend. In central Tyre, there was once a forest said to be the home of a white stag with antlers woven of pure gold. The stag was constant companion of the Fae that lived among the trees. For centuries, the Fae and their gilded companion lived peacefully. Then humans arrived and settled outside the forest. The Fae feared what the settlers might do if they discovered the existence of the stag. However, word spread quickly among the humans that the stag was a guardian of the forest to be respected and revered. Generations of farmers exalted the stag. They saw it as a benevolent being whose rare appearances preluded bounteous harvests. Owing their healthy crops to the divine stag, the village forbade its hunting, and for decades the Fae, the stag, and the farmers lived in harmony, but peace never lasts forever. Magda was barely a century old when the trust between a Fae and man was broken. The settlement fell on hard times as the soil grew rocky and barren. Those who could abandoned the village, but many could not afford to leave. The remaining humans grew lean and frantic as time passed. Misery drove the most desperate to blame the gilded stag for their misfortune. If it died, then surely the crops would come back and the village would thrive again. One misty night, the humans stole into the woods with torches and spears. The Fae, sensing the humans' vile intent, tried to stop the invaders, but hunger made the humans vicious. The forest erupted into violence. In ensuing chaos, a torch fell to the ground, igniting the woods in swell of flame. Magda was the sole Fae survivor. She watched helpless as the farmers fled and the forest burned to ash. Magda swore that night that she would avenge her fallen family, and so she travels Taya, hunting the humans who took everything from her. Vengeance may not bring her joy, but to this day it gives her grim purpose. I'm gonna be honest, that was not what I was expecting for that story whatsoever. She's a farm girl. She's a horse girl. Magda, are you a horse girl? We're gonna call him Uridan, the noble reaper, a hero embodying both fear and justice. This enigmatic figure, cloaked in an ominous shadow, executes their enemies without a hint of mercy. I don't know who this guy is. I've never seen him before in my life. The noble reaper. The reaper entered like a storm. No blade could stop its approach. The Lord's eyes held such fear before the screaming began. Line from a Yalner ghost story. Uridan, the noble reaper, strikes in the dead of night. His victims live only long enough to taste their impending deaths before falling to his blade. Fear not unless your heart is wicked. Uridan will spare you. Only the greatest sinners succumb to his wrath. None know who this reaper is. Indeed, he was long believed to be nothing more than the subject of ghost stories. A bandit would disappear here. A crime lord would vanish there. But it could all be explained away. Until it couldn't. One dark night in a castle in the Yalner kingdom, the doors blew open with a great gust of wind. Heavy footsteps pounded the stone floor. Many guards tried to stop the Reaper from entering the castle, but their swords passed through him as though he were made of smoke. He marched steadily towards the great hall. There, a corrupt aristocrat was hosting a banquet attended by the equally heinous officials. They laughed when they first saw the Reaper enter until he drew his sword. In a single blow, he split a minister from head to neck, the first of many a sinner to perish that night. The life drained from the wicked seemed to flow into the Reaper, sustaining him. No fewer than 100 soldiers failed to stop him before he vanished into the moonless night. Scholars from the White Tower have speculated that this legendary figure may be called Uridin, an ancient title meaning noble knight. What cause he may be fighting for is the subject of much speculation. Perhaps he is an ancient knight following a sworn oath to defend justice and eliminate corruption forever. Or perhaps this is merely a story people tell themselves, so long as they are good. Surely they will not fall victim to the Reaper's shadowy blade. He's a good ghost. I'm gonna call you Casper. You're Casper the friendly ghost after he's seen too much. Durza. I feel like this little freak is gonna have a crazy story. I'm excited. The Blood Tusk Shaman. The shaman stories are always so good. The Blood Tusk Shaman. Never look him in the eye. Respect him always. But keep away. Orcish mother to her child. In the roaring canyon of Taya, Orcish tribes clamor for power, resources, and respect, while most orcs shun the practice of magic, believing it inferior to blade and claw. Many are deeply spiritual, where gods and ancestors are concerned. This reverence for the divine has allowed those like Durza, the Blood Tusk Shaman, to make a name for themselves amongst the unforgiving wastelands. As a young unblooded bull, Durza was ostracized and tormented by other males for being undersized and generally disinterested and sparing. Despite being the son of the tribe's chieftain, spending his days in meditation, his tormentors were unaware that Durza frequently received visions from ancestors of the tribe, who urged him to heed their callings and serve as a shaman. Attempting to quell Durza's odd behavior, his chieftain father exiled him into the wilds of the roaring canyon during a great drought, demanding he return with the skull of a worthy foe. During his sojourn, Durza encountered a mighty canyon lion and managed to slay it despite receiving grievous wounds. Before he could claim the skull as the trophy, he experienced a sudden urge to consume the beast's blood. In doing so, Durza received his most powerful vision yet, one that commanded he commit patricide. Durza returned to his tribe empty-handed, inciting his father's rage. While reprimanding his son, he failed to notice the dagger Durza had produced before it made its way to his jugular. Durza beheaded the chieftain in his own hut, keeping his original promise in the most morbid of ways before discovering the chieftain had been withholding a cache of resources from the tribe during the drought. Fashioning his father's skull into a lantern, Durza emerged from the tent at dusk and demanded the horrified members of his tribe look into the eyes of his gruesome beacon. In them they saw a possible future. Entire enemy villages ransacked and plundered, an end to the great drought, and all the earthly delights they could desire. After his father's betrayal was confirmed, Durza was declared a shaman chieftain, acquiring both the fear and respect of his followers. To this day, he uses his grisly lantern to guide his people towards sinister delights. Any who oppose him are put to the knife and sacrifice. Okay, so that's what the little quote at the beginning was. Don't get too close, because otherwise you are forced to follow him and his lantern and go through weird, creepy vision quests that he has with his dad's skull. You are a little freak, aren't you? Oh my god, the jaw is like attached and hanging. That is so metal, what the hell? Carnelian, the soul soother. It's not the orc warriors that scare me the most. It's the healers you've got to watch out for. Wisdom from a mercenary captain. Carnelian was a warrior long before she became a healer. Like many orc soldiers, she dedicated years of her life studying and mastering the art of war. She was immensely talented, capable of cutting down half a dozen enemies in one fell swoop. But it wasn't enough. Too many times, battles would end with only Carnelian and a handful of elite warriors left standing. The battle was won, but only narrowly. Though Orcish leaders deemed such losses acceptable, Carnelian grew troubled. Could a single warrior turn the tide of a battle and lower the loss of lives? She sought an answer. Carnelian set aside her sword and shield. She turned instead to study the ancient ways of orc warmongering. The songs and legends of past soldiers led her down a new path. She discovered that long ago, Orcish healers had developed an arcane technique for empowering their soldiers by strengthening their very souls. This was the answer Carnelian sought. By recreating techniques long thought forgotten, Carnelian was able to imbue stones with Orcish magic. The power channeled through the stones could resonate with mind and body alike. But could the power win a battle? Carnelian only had one way to find out. Carnelian chose to return to the battlefield not as a warrior, but as a healer. The Orcish leaders that once respected her mocked Carnelian when they saw her choice of weapon. They thought their elite warrior had forgotten her way, but their skepticism was brief. As their enemies charged forward, Carnelian channeled her newfound might into empowering her allies. A lurid red glow lit up their bodies as magic fortified them against the oncoming onslaught. The battle was hard fought, but Carnelian led her soldiers to victory. Wounds that would have ordinarily been fatal were softened by Carnelian's magic. The Orcish leaders were shocked by how few lives were lost, but Carnelian was not satisfied. Gazing into the flickering red magic that emanated from her hands, she imagined the great triumphs that she could achieve through this ancient power. Like, no, you're tough as an orc if you're a fighter, if you can fight, kill, use your hands, use your strength. And she's like, my strength is in my mind. And she proved them right. Look how cool she is. We are going to end part 1 of the cultists with Fierna. Because why not? She is literally one of the best heroes in the game. I don't have her. Oh my god, do I want her? Look at how awesome she is. The Wraith Queen. Beset by black magic, the scorned queen now wields it maliciously. Pair her with Silas and lay waste. For Vierna, undying love. There walks the embodiment of a broken heart, elven priestess of the Elder Woods. One hears all manner of tall tales when imbibing in Ty's countless taverns. In one such tavern on a dreary night, a notorious grave robber burst through the doors, claiming dead men had risen near Nordshire Cemetery at the behest of a dark elven queen. The locals mocked him. This wasn't the first time he'd cried wolf, until the undead queen herself appeared in the doorway. Silence descended as she stared blankly ahead, before sending her ghoulish army straight through the walls to massacre them all. Vierna, the Wraith Queen, wasn't born wicked, far from it. Once the beloved queen of the blind king, Silas, her quest to redeem her lover's honor transformed her into an abomination of boundless black magic. After Silas's infamous disappearance, the queen found herself in absolute shambles. Though none blamed her for the king mysteriously vanishing, the shame of her not knowing why devastated her nonetheless. Why had he told her nothing? Had he not loved her enough to stay by her side, even through their hardship? Knowing the blight could only stem from the damned quadrant of the forest realm, she stole into the ruined forest to learn of Silas's fate and actions. There she discovered the very same spirit that Silas had formed a deal with. It mocked her folly for being too late. Better with swords than words, Vierna launched into a frenzy and battled the spirit, augmented crystalline weapons giving her strength. While she found herself wholly unprepared to face the might of the putrid spirit, she cut through the bow relentlessly and neared victory when she almost managed to reseal the foul spirit, until it targeted her weakness. It claimed Silas had purposefully cast Vierna's love aside for his own survival, forsaking them all. At first, refusing to believe the damning lie, she was rendered speechless when the spirit brandished Silas's eyes. It told her Silas had no hesitation to give up his sight, for he cared not if he ever saw Vierna again. It was the only answer she had. Consumed with rage, confusion, and pain, Vierna's shattered heart was swarmed by the forbidden magics of the cursed forest. They transformed her into a wraith of the unprecedented power tethered to her heartache. she felled the cursed spirit in one blow, banishing it from the realm. Now the ghoulish queen only has one mission: wander Taya in search of her greatest love, so that she can claim her revenge once and for all. I actually just gave myself goosebumps with that. Okay, but do you think that she got tricked? Like, do you think that the fiend in the forest was lying to her? I know that it, like, showed Silas's eyes, but maybe he was able to make, like, a mockery of Silas. Maybe Silas is trapped somewhere. We'll know soon. Wait, is Silas in this faction? Wait, is she in 2 factions? No. So if Silas isn't in this faction, then that's true. Oh my gosh. But what about this? But you guys, what about the cute little wedding outfits that they have? I want to read Silas's story so bad now. Wow. Okay, another bundle of great little goodie-filled stories with so much lore and so much beauty and depth. We had some freaks, we had some love, we had some triumphs. I am super excited for part 2, so stay tuned. It will be coming up the day after this one. And I just wanted to say thank you all for watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, doing all the good stuff. I appreciate it, I need it, I love it. And I am Kate Rebel, and this is Kate Rebel's Realm, and I will see you guys next time. Nora, she has something happening right now with a dragon. We're talking Shrek, man. Well, look at his eyeball. Oh, it's getting hammered. Imbibing means getting hammered. Okay, let's go. Gulp. We're gonna do that because I can't see the writing. Oh, she flies. Do you think it's gonna be cute?